This is breaking news.
And good evening. I'm Dan Rice, live in Chopper 2. We're up over Lower Manhattan, and what you're watching right now is a protest that started in Brooklyn. It began around 5:30 this evening over by the Brooklyn Museum, just on the north end of Prospect Park. And since then, a large group of protesters, pro-Palestinian protesters, who are protesting against the war with Israel. In addition, they're also protesting against the NYPD. They're also protesting Mayor Adams, asking for him to step down in relation to the recent police shooting that happened in Brownsville earlier in the week, a little earlier in the week, excuse me. And you can see now that group is making its way through Lower Manhattan. So this is a smaller portion of the group. The group has kind of been breaking off as it's made its way through Manhattan. When we picked up the protest, they were over by the Tweed Courthouse, which is over on Chambers Street, just on the north side of City Hall. At this point, you're looking at them on McDougal, crossing over West Houston Street. And again, what we watched as they made their way through the city tonight is the group does kind of break off and go in different directions, almost as if to try to confuse the NYPD, who's been following them as they've been doing their march through the city. And you can see some of those flashing lights down there. When we see these protests, you normally see the bicycle police in the yellow shirts following behind, keeping an eye on what is happening. And like I said, as they've gotten to various intersections, they've kind of just, in an impromptu kind of way, made a left, made a right, split up the group a little bit. And you can see this is a much smaller portion of that group now that we've been able to keep up with over here on McDougal Street. From what we're seeing on social media, it sounds like the group plans to have everybody reassemble back at Washington Square Park. That is not that far away from where we are right now, so we're going to keep an eye on this group here as they make their way through the city streets. And again, typically with these type of protests, what you see is that the police try to keep them up on the sidewalk. They keep them out of the lanes of traffic, so as to not impede any traffic going through there. And we did see at some point when they were over by, I believe it was Wooster Street, they did begin to start going into the traffic. That's when the police moved in, trying to redirect them, and that's where we saw them beginning to split off their group and go in different directions. And again, you can see them just at this point walking up McDougal. Earlier we saw a bunch of the protesters kind of sprinting along the traffic there and just going their various ways, trying again to confuse the NYPD, it looked like. But here you can see them at the intersection here. And like I said, from what we're being told, the group is out on social media pages saying that they would like to see everybody reassemble back at Washington Square Park. Look there on McDougal. You can see the yellow shirts there on the bicycles. That's the NYPD bicycle unit. They are just following along. You'll see them go through the traffic there as this smaller group stays over on the sidewalk area. And again, we'll keep an eye on this for a few minutes here and see if this group, in its current size, continues to make their way along McDougal, eventually getting up towards Washington Square Park. Obviously, if they stay on McDougal, that'll bring them over to the west side of Washington Square. So it's probably a good bet. We'll see them make their way into the park when they get up there in just a few blocks. And we'll zoom down in here, and you can see as they make their way up, just marching there with their signs. And as they go by the businesses and other places there, not creating too much chaos, not creating too many problems, just making their way up to the park. Again, if you are just joining us here on the live stream, this is a splinter group of a larger group that's been protesting since 5:30 this evening. Again, all of this started over by the Brooklyn Museum in Brooklyn. And for the last several hours, they've made their way from the Brooklyn Museum through Grand Army Plaza and over, I believe, the Brooklyn Bridge to make their way over towards Tweed Courthouse. Again, that is on the north side of the City Hall, over on Chambers Street. And that's why I said that's where we picked them up when the larger group was leaving the courthouse steps. They made their way up Broadway, worked over Chambers Street, up Booster, and when they were coming up Booster, it appeared that they decided to break the group apart and go in various directions. And of course, this group now peacefully making their way up McDougal. Again, we expect them to end at Washington Square Park in just a few blocks from here. And of course, we'll keep an eye on the situation down here and give you updates as they warrant. But for now, I'm Dan Rice, live in Chopper 2, CBS News, New York.
This has been breaking news.